Hi, my name is Jeff, and this is a Bon Musica violin shoulder rest. This is my eBay box. I don't like my shoulder rest anymore. It stopped working. I don't know what changed, but it no longer prevents the violin from moving away from my neck, and it also began to hurt when I used it on my shoulder, and that might have been because of poor technique. But then, of course, shoulder rests have been used for at least 50 years, but that doesn't mean that everybody has been comfortable with them. And that doesn't mean that everybody knows how to use them either. And I can't say that I knew how to use mine. I tended to press down with my chin on the chin rest, and sometimes I would press plenty hard, especially when navigating difficult music. But because I was having pain from pressing down, and it might have been pressing down on the muscle between my collarbone and my mastoid, I was having a lot of pain that went all the way to the back of my ear. And I also had a lot of pain along my collarbone when I would use the shoulder rest. As I haven't stopped playing violin, and what I've got here is my violin, and it's attached to a sling around my right shoulder. Okay, it comes around and around the back of my neck. It joins the violin, and it connects to the violin's end pin over here. I don't know if you can see that, as well as the base of the neck right here. And I am learning how to play with no shoulder rest at all. And I'm the beginning of this, so I'm having a little bit of difficulty, but it's a learning process, as all of you who play the violin understand. And I have found that without this sling, when I try to play and shift from, say, fourth or third position down to first position, that my thumb, just a small amount of friction between the neck of the violin and my thumb would tend to pull the violin away and off my shoulder. I never dropped the violin, but I would stop right there. And so this sling keeps the violin from moving away from my neck. Okay? And because I have such confidence in the sling that it will also prevent movement of the chin rest end away from my shoulder, and also the fingerboard end from moving away. I no longer need to press down on the chin rest, if at all. You know, the only reason I press down on the chin rest, or touch the chin rest with my chin, is if I have a difficult passage where I want to look at the strings and concentrate on getting my intonation right and my fingering right, and making sure that if I'm performing a double stop, that my fingers are far away enough from the second string to prevent any bad sounds coming out of this thing. You can make this sling very easily for probably less than $4. Materials, cost, and if you don't have to buy a pair of scissors, if you had to buy a pair of scissors, it might cost you about $3 or something like that. So if you had no scissors, it would cost you less than $10. Alright, so that's the end of this introduction, and I'm going to move on to the materials list next for making this sling. Here's what you'll need to make your sling. You need a pair of scissors, you need string. 60 inches of string will more than do the trick if you can't buy the whole roll. You will need a piece of fabric about 6 inches, 4 to 6 inches wide by 60 or 70 inches long. Yeah. You're going to end up with a piece about 80 inches long if you go to the fabric store, because what they will have is they will have bolts of fabric that will look like this, rolled up like this, and you'll ask them to roll out maybe about 10 or 15 inches. You'll have them cut it. And when you get your piece of fabric, you will fold it in half. And then you will cut that piece of fabric along the fold. So you have two pieces of two long strips of fabric, and then you will take those long strips of fabric and you'll either sew them together, sew one end of one piece to the end of the other piece. So you'll join them like that, or you could even just tie a knot one end to the other piece, just tie a knot, and you'll have one long string of fabric. If you really want to be elegant, you will take the long strip of fabric, now you'll fold that in half, you'll either sew it or have a friend sew the long edges together. Okay, and then you'll sew the ends of it over like so, and then once you have these long edges sewn together, then you can turn the whole thing inside out, so you only have the fold showing. And what you're aiming for is an elegant tube of fabric that looks nice without any raw edges showing. That's it. Now we're going to put it together. I am back with the parts needed to make this sling. Scissors, string, violin, and the piece of fabric that we will use to connect to our shoulder. Okay, first thing we want to do, pull out enough string to cover the end of the violin from one end to the other, and then add enough so that you can tie your knots, and that would usually be just from the end of the scroll to the body of the violin. That should be enough. We'll cut and tie an overhand knot to prevent raveling later. Okay, now let's make a loop like so. Okay, and we're going to tie an overhand knot right here. Okay, so I'll just run that through, and now we have a loop. Okay, now we can pass the loop under the strings. Okay, you can see this, right? And then we'll wrap it around the base of the neck and take the free end of the string, drop it through the loop, and cinch it. Tight, and now we've got the free end of the loop of the string just hanging. Now let's fold the string over, fold the free end of the string over my finger near the end of the violin. And now let's make another loop at this end, and so we'll do that by tying an overhand knot over here. Anywhere will do. Okay, I am doing this by viewing this through the viewfinder, the screen of the camera, so I have the same view as you have here. So now we've got a loop here. Okay, great. We're all set with that. Now let's go back to our ball of string and roll out enough string so that we can roll out enough string so that we have the distance from the end of the violin to the bridge, and then pull out another length end of the violin to the bridge and cut. Great. Now I'm going to change the lights so we can have a better view of the end pin. I'm going to reorient the camera downwards. Now we've got our little piece of string here, and then we're going to run the string behind the tail gut. Okay, so now we have the two ends of the string. I'll put those in one hand and pull them so that the middle of the string is at the tail gut. Okay, now we will push both ends of the string under the chin rest. You see, now you see them coming through here. Great. Okay. here we've got really nice placement of the string here. Okay, so now we're going to take one of these two ends, pass it through the loop that you made earlier, and now I'm going to tie an overhand knot. Right here. Okay, so now we've got most of this done here, okay? The loop from the first string we made, and then the second loop is connected to that. Now it's time to take our long piece of fabric. Let's change this here. Okay. Let's see. And we've got two ends here. It's all one long piece. So we're gonna run this through the loop of the first string. Okay. And so now we've got the two ends here, and then I'm going to pull the two ends in one hand until it's roughly the middle part is through the loop. And now we're done with our sling, and we're ready to try it on. You have completed your sling, and I'm going to show you how to set it up and how to put it on and how to take it off. What I've got here is my sling, but with different colors for the fabric loop. What you'll want to do is you will want to make sure that your sling is hanging off the left side of your violin. Now, bring both of the fabric ends behind your neck and let one of the ends of the fabric loop drop in front of your shoulder, and the other loop you'll bring behind your shoulder, and then you will bring the two together like so. And now that you have your violin at your neck, you can release your violin and now tie a knot. And now you can tie your knot just like you were tying your shoes, just like you're tying your shoelaces. Okay, so here we go, and I'm going to make a little release loop here, so later on if I need to adjust it, I can just pull on the yellow part, and then I'll be all set. Okay, and now you're all set. You can raise your violin with your thumb, and you can see that the angle is just about right for where you would want to play on all of the strings, the G string through the E string. If you wanted not to raise your arm quite as much to play the G string, you could tilt your violin a little bit or tilt back to get more traction on the E string. Okay, sometimes you can tilt just the violin and you can play around with the chin rest a little bit and move your chin a little bit back and forth to get the tilt that you want. And now, to remove this assembly, lift it over behind you and over your head, and let the sling just fall off your arm. To put it on, you simply pull your arm through the sling, bring the violin behind you, over your head and behind you, and then to rest where you can play it to your heart's content. If you like this video, click on the like button. If you think I might actually produce more videos, click on subscribe too. Thank you for watching.